start with Marc Lamont Hill because last week Cameron, he took to his show, It Is What It Is, which I love. It's a sports podcast show with him and Mace. And, you know, he does a monologue before they get into the actual show. And he was saying how he identifies as Black American, not African American. And he was like, listen, shout out to all my Africans. You know, he's cool with a lot of Africans, but he knows that Africans don't really mess with Black Americans like that, right? And I understood what he was saying because it was no shade. It was just like, you know, y'all stick with your own kind. But you got thirsty ass Marc Lamont Hill because he's always caping. He's always caping for the Palestinians. And I'm going to get to them in a minute. But he's always caping for Palestinians. He spoke at the UN and on behalf of Palestinians. This was like 2-3 years ago. And it's like, bro, where was this energy at for Black American fighting for reparations? You could have went to the UN to speak on reparations for Black Americans. You know, now I'm kind of, if I had to pick a side, you know, I am, it should be a ceasefire. Let me just say that. But he always go hard for Palestinians. That's your business. But as a Black man, you want to sit up here and criticize Cameron comments. So I want to play a piece of that clip.
Not because of sports, which is what he's been talking about, brother Marc Lamont Hill. A couple of days ago, Cameron made news. He had the internet buzzing. Not because of sports, which is what he's been talking about lately, and not because of rap, he's a rap legend, but because he made a comment about not wanting to be identified as African American. Here's what he said.
When you go fill out a test when you're in school and they ask you this, that, and third, this, that, I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather fill in Black than African American because Africans don't even fuck with us.
Wow.
Because they don't.
And Americans do?
Well, you're American, Mace. You're born in America. When you go to the Olympics, and when I say African,
I love when he said, well, you're American, Mace.
American. You go over there, they call us Yankees and all that. They fuck with us, but we're not from the motherland. We're from America. So I'd rather say I'm a Black American. When we go to the Olympics as a country, and some Africans.
I'm going to fast forward it because I uploaded this and I broke this down so you could go, you know, to my videos and watch my commentary on this because I want to fast forward it to Marc Lamont Hill.
Y'all don't.
Now, normally I mind my own business on this kind of stuff, sort of, but
much love, but y'all don't consider us real Africans. Y'all don't.
Now, normally I mind my own business on this kind of stuff, sort of, but I felt the need to respond directly to Cam because I think this issue is that important. So Cam, my brother, here is my response to you. First of all, as you know, and I said this to you publicly and privately, I appreciate you. I love you. I love the work you're doing. You're one of my favorite rappers. And now to watch you and Mace on that show doing the work you're doing is incredibly important. It's empowering and it is uplifting. But with that platform, of course, comes a big responsibility because people look to you for insight. They look to you for advice. They shape their worldview based on what you say. So when you made that statement, it's going to have other people echoing it. And I want to make sure that we break down what's right about what you said and what's wrong about what you said.
All right. So this is a problem that I have with Marc Lamont Hill. Who are you to say what is right and what is wrong with what somebody said? Who are you? You are not a philosopher. You're not an intellect like a John Henry Clark or even the Judge Joe Brown. Who in the hell are you? You don't even speak for Black people issues. You speak for the Palestinians. You fight for the Palestinians. You advocate for the Palestinians. You don't even advocate for Black Americans or African Americans. You don't even advocate for any country in the continent of Africa. So who are you to say what he said wrong and what he said right? And I'm tired of, and I am going to put Marc Lamont Hill in those Democrat shells category or shills, whatever. I'm going to put him there because he's anti-Trump. He's anti-GOP. He's just anti-other than Democrat. And I'm tired of Black people like him Just because you have a platform and you get a check from corporate, that you can sit up here and dictate to Black America what we can and cannot say, what is right and what is wrong. You don't tell us what is wrong, because what Cameron said was absolutely right. Why is it that a Black American who don't want to identify with African American is a problem? A Jamaican doesn't say, I'm African Jamaican, I'm African Caribbean. They don't even say Afro-Caribbean. They say they're Jamaican. Or if they're a citizen here, they're Jamaican American. So if I say I'm Black American because this is my lineage that I could trace back to slavery, that I could trace back to the Revolution War, that I could trace back to the early 1800s when my great grandfather came over here with the last name Cumberlander from England. I'm Black, I'm American, who just so happen to be Black. And because we have race categories, whether it's in a census, whether it's in employment, or whatever forms we fill out, because yes, America operates under a caste system, white supremacy, and race. They operate under race. So if you don't have a problem with Jamaicans calling themselves Jamaicans and not African Jamaicans, why do you have a problem with Black Americans calling themselves Black Americans? Make it make sense. So I'm just tired of Black people like him saying to other Black people, this is what you said wrong, but this is what you said right. But let me just correct you. F you.
For me, saying you Black is cool. I often say I'm Black as opposed to African American because I don't want to exclude my brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, my brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa. In the United States, when you say you Black, it encompasses all of that, because the police don't care if you came in on a boat last year or 400 years ago. When you don't get the job, or you don't get the house, or you don't get the credit, or you don't get whatever it is because of your race, people don't care whether you are African from the continent, whether you're African from the Caribbean, whether you're African from the United States. So for me, Black in that way is a good framework to include all of us. I'm with that part of it. But we can't let go of Africa, my brother. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the idea that Africans don't fuck with us is, I think, not true. It's exaggerated and inflated. Africa is a continent, and every country is different. Every region is different. The idea of even calling Africa a single place is something that really Europeans did. It happens in a way that ignores the fact that there's different tribes and different cultures and different civilizations.
He's just babbling, because that's not what Cameron was talking about. He babbles a lot, Marc Lamont. And that's what pisses me off with him. Babble, babble, babble.
Sometimes that aren't even connected by a country. So it's complicated. So I would never say all of Africa does this or all of Africa does that. But in general, what I would say is there's a long history of Africans on the continent connecting with Black folk here in the United States. When we were marching for civil rights, there were people in Accra, Ghana singing "We Shall Overcome." They were hearing our songs, they were hearing our music, they were hearing and witnessing our struggle. And as they fought for independence in countries like Ghana, they watched what we did and they felt a connection. In Sierra Leone, they feel a connection. In Ivory
Let me correct him. Wait, let me just let him finish.
Coast, they feel a connection. In Cote d'Ivoire, they feel a connection. In South Africa, they feel a connection. When we were marching to end apartheid and to get Nelson Mandela out of prison, they certainly banged with Black Americans who were struggling with and for them.
So this is the thing. Black Americans, we set the blueprint for freedom and justice and equality. All the other countries in Africa follow suit after us. They look to us. That's why Ghana was saying we shall overcome, because Ghana was still under British rule. They didn't get their independence till after our Civil Rights Act was passed. Also, South Africa, yes, they look to what we were doing here, not just the "we shall overcome" marching, because that was nonviolent. They idolized and looked to what the Black Panthers were doing, what they were doing in Detroit, burning stuff down. Excuse me. I forgot the name of, it's a special holiday in June in South Africa, Youth Day. All the children that left out of school marching head on against the law enforcement in South Africa, and a lot of them were shot down dead or whatever. But the blueprint was created by Black Americans. It wasn't something that was simultaneously going on. We wasn't asking for their assistance. We appreciate them in solidarity, but we set the blueprint for them to get up and fight for their independence against the European countries that were colonizing them.
Are there some folk who don't? Are there some who ain't even Black? Look at North Africa, a whole bunch of Arabs. Are there people who come here and think they better than the average nigga on the street? Absolutely. And some of them got to get a nigga wake-up call when the police stop them and don't care what country they came from, or how non-African American was dating this Irish American girl. From the genius and the brilliance of our tradition, hip-hop, as much as it's born in the Bronx, hip-hop is rooted in Africa.
All right. So this is 9 minutes, and I'm not about to play the whole 9 minutes, and this is exactly what I'm talking about with Marc Lamont Hill on his BS, honey. Hip hop was rooted in Africa. No, everything did not come out of Africa. Everything did not come out of Africa, and hip hop is not uprooted from Africa. Where did you get this from? How? Like, what makes you think hip hop was in the slightest cultivated in Africa? What country? What country?
I hear you when you say Africans don't see us as real Africans, but brother, I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. Pause. There is a large chunk of the African continent, and again, it's a continent with lots of different countries, cultures, and values and politics, that see us as brothers and sisters and long distant relatives who they want to come home. Think about the March of Return. In 2019, Ghana invited the global community to come back to return to home, which is Africa, and specifically Ghana. And so many Black people, African people, went to Ghana. They saw the culture. They saw the connection. They felt the love from the African people. And for that reason, many people are building alliances. Our dear brother.
All right. So again, this is why I'm saying he's doing a lot of babble, because he's all over the place. Marc Lamont Hill is all over the place. He's trying to say that us Black Americans, we are Africans. Those are long lost cousins and aunts and uncles, and that's just not true. You know, Africa is the biggest continent in the world. It has 52 or 53 countries. You know, so again, no, they don't see us. Well, people outside of the United States, they see us, someone that look like me, someone that look like Marc Lamont Hill, as American. They see us as Yankees. And then they may categorize us as the color. But the first thing they see us as America. They know we're American if we go to somebody else's country, the way we walk, the way we dress, the way we act, the way we talk. And then they may say, oh, you know, a Black American or whatever, or white American. So he's all over the place. Now he's saying hip hop came out of Africa. You know, those are brothers and sisters. And let me just say this about the year of return. That was a marketing ploy. That was a marketing ploy to increase tourism in Ghana, which it did and continues to. Doing business in Africa, whatever country, it is a great idea. You should always want to do business abroad, especially in the continent of Africa somewhere. The problem is you need money. You need to have an expertise in an industry here. Because how you want to go to anywhere in the world if you don't know how to build, if you're not building here? See, the foundation starts here for Black Americans. So if I have, let's just say, a telecommunication company here already up and thriving, then yes, I could network and make alliances, let's say with someone in Nigeria or Ghana or South America or Namibia, to set up a telecommunication company there. And I'm just giving an example. But you have to start here. You can't just pick up your little savings of $10,000, $20,000 and go to a country in Africa and think you're just going to start up a business and it's going to flourish. Doesn't work like that. But yes, there should be a stronger bridge when it comes to trade and business. But the problem there is our lack of wealth with Black Americans here in America. So I can't think about the continent until we are situated and financial and economically and have economic mobility here in America. Now, there are Africans in different countries that come here legally to go to school, to network, but those are the so-called elitists, the upper class in these different countries, whether it's Nigeria or Ghana. And now what we have at the border, because I'm about to get into the migrant crisis, we have a whole lot of Africans coming into the United States via the border down in Texas, the Mexico, the U.S.-Mexico border, illegally. So we had the upper class come here legally, and now you have the lower class coming illegally via the border. I'm not letting them come stay at my house. If you saying they're supposed to be our brothers and sisters, no, they're not. I'm saying build the wall. I don't care that you're African. You came here illegal. So stop trying to create a Wakanda, this utopia that's supposed to exist in the continent of Africa, which it does not. It doesn't exist. I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I just wanted to highlight the BS. I just want to highlight the BS of Marc Lamont Hill and Black people like him.
They ain't know what your data. They ain't know what your data.